Hi, this is Eric from Keith McMillen Instruments. Today I'm going to review USB connectivity issues and how to see if your KMI controller is working. Sometimes we get support requests and people are having trouble getting their device to work. Today I'm going to show you how to do this in Windows, and then there will be another video for Mac OS. And I'm going to use the SoftStep, and this while this is specific to SoftStep, you should still be able to use these same methods to diagnose connecting to other devices like BotPad. So one program I have open right now is the Device Manager, and that's going to help us. If you don't know how to open this, you can just go down to the Windows menu and you can type Device. And there it is. You just click right there. That would open this right up. And that's going to let us see all of the different devices that are connected that the computer can see. For MIDI controllers, you want to be looking at sound, video, and game controllers, so you can expand that. You can see I have a couple random drivers running in the background, but there's no KMI device connected yet. So I'm going to go ahead and try to connect my SoftStep here. And what you'll notice is when I connect this, nothing works. It's dark, there's no screen, nothing's working at all. Now, you might think this is dead, and it could be. There's a number of things that might be causing this. So one thing that you can try is on the SoftStep we have two USB ports. We have just the standard port for your computer. It's a USB-B, like your old school printer. An expander port here, you would normally use this with a MIDI expander if you wanted MIDI ports, but you can just use a standard USB mini cable like you would find on a cell phone or something, and you can plug that in and you can test that as well. So if you're not getting any power from either of these ports, then that tells you that this unit is really broken. It's probably something, could be corrupt firmware, could be damage to the circuit board, but at this point, this is, a device that needs to be serviced, and we need to look at the ports, or maybe something deeper in it, maybe a beer got spilled on it or something. Now, next I'm going to try a unit. Now this one, we've taken the dog house off here so you can see some of the components, but if I plug in my B port, again, nothing turns on, nothing powers, seems like it's dead. Now, this expander port, and by the way, we have expander ports on Keyboard Pro as well as QNexus, so this will work for those as well. Now you can plug into the MIDI port here and you'll see, it lights up. So this tells us a few things. This could be that maybe there's something wrong with this USB port. You might want to check your cable, but at least what we know is this unit turns on and it seems to work, right? So we know that somewhere the problem is here at the cables. You might hear in the background the computer's trying to connect through this port and it can't, because this port only works with our MIDI expander. It does not work just plugging it into a computer. Only this port does. That said, this unit might still work with the expander, and if you're not using a computer, if you're using this to control a synthesizer or a 5-pin MIDI device, you might still be able to get through your gig with this or your rehearsal. So let's try a different unit. All right. So this one here, we can plug in the MIDI port, and it works. And we can plug in the B port, and it works. But if we look over at the device manager, nothing. Something is amiss. Now normally we would see under sound, video, and game controllers, there would be either SSCOM if it's older firmware, or it would say SoftStep Control Surface or SoftStep, and we don't see any of that here. Now, with this unit, if I plug in this cable, you'll see it powers on, but we've got nothing over at the device manager under sound, video, and game controllers. There's no SoftStep port listed. So there's two things that could be going on with this unit. The first is it could be a bad cable. I know that's not the case because I know this is a good cable. But you might try a different cable, or you might try plugging this cable into something that you know gives you power and data, and test the cable. So verify that the cable's good. If this still doesn't communicate, then what it tells you is the pins on this port here, either the pins are disconnected to something or a component is dead, but this is probably a hardware issue. If you don't see the driver listed in the device manager, then this unit probably needs to be repaired. And that's something that we can work with a local service center, or if you're close enough to Berkeley, California, that the shipping isn't too expensive, maybe we can arrange a repair here for a nominal fee to cover our time. So let's go now to another unit. So this unit I know is good. And if we plug this in, what we'll see is that the driver engages, and over in Device Manager, you'll see it just updated, and now we can see that the SoftStep is listed. There should be no special driver install or anything. It's just a class-compliant MIDI device, generic USB audio, and this is what you should see when you open up the driver. Lots of different drop-down info here that you could look at, but the main thing you're looking for is this device is working properly. So if you get this this message here, then you know that the cable's good, the device is good, and the driver is working, and it's talking to Windows. All right, so now next step. You're probably going to want to connect to the device and use our editor to make some changes, right? So here I've got our SoftStep editor. It's the latest editor from our website, version 2.1.1 as of January 2024. And if I open this folder, we've got the advanced editor and the basic editor. I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the advanced editor. One thing you want to make sure when you download our editors for Windows is that we typically don't use an installer. What we usually do is we just give you a folder, and when you unzip the zip file that you download, you want to drag this folder to your desktop, or if you want to put it in program files and create a shortcut, however you manage your programs, but there's not an actual installation. You just keep this folder and all of its contents together. What can happen sometimes is if you take the program and you copy it somewhere else, then it might run, but then it'll crash or something will go wrong, and that's because it needs all these other files. So if you want to just right-click this, and then typically you can pin to the start menu, or you can, with more options, you can create a shortcut by sending it to the desktop. However you manage your programs, but you need to make sure that all of the files stay inside of these folders for all of our editors. So I'm going to go ahead and open the advanced editor. Okay, so this error came up, and it says that the MIDI input port SoftStep control surface is currently being used by another program. So why are we getting this error? Well, Microsoft Windows has a peculiarity about standard MIDI drivers in that only one program can talk to a MIDI device at a time. You might notice on some products like Roland makes products where you have to download a driver in order to use their MIDI device, and because they wrote a driver which is why their products tend to be a little more expensive because they pay people to write drivers. They can have multiple applications talking to their product. But for us, we use a standard class-compliant MIDI driver, and Microsoft doesn't support letting multiple programs talk to those devices at once. It's kind of unfortunate. The good news is when Microsoft supports MIDI 2, they're going to update their driver support so that multiple programs can talk to standard MIDI devices. So that should be coming next year or maybe even sooner. But for now, the reason we're getting this error is because I have Ableton Live open. And Ableton, if you notice, if I go into Preferences, I have SoftStep selected. And what that means is Ableton is talking to SoftStep. And so no other program, including the editor, can talk to the SoftStep. So what you got to do is close Ableton. And then you'll need to close the editor and then reopen the editor. Now, if you're still having trouble getting the editor to connect to any of our controllers, be it a SoftStep, QNexus, we do, for some of our editors in the help menu, have a Troubleshoot Connection option that you can select. And that's going to open this utility. Now, what you can see in this window, we've got a log here, and it says that we initialize the log. And then the first thing here we see is that the MIDI port has been detected. So what that means is Windows saw a driver and the program looked for it and it saw it. But we haven't seen anything else in the log here. So what we can see in troubleshooting is SoftStep has not responded when the editor sent a firmware version request. In other words, the editor tried to talk to the SoftStep and it couldn't. So it's recommending you disconnect the SoftStep, disconnect all of the MIDI devices, close all of the programs, and then reopen the editor, and then reconnect the SoftStep. So this is telling you, make sure that you don't have any other devices that are trying to talk to the SoftStep. So if you do that and you still get this, you can click here, and that will copy this report. And then I'll use Notepad here, but if you're writing us a support ticket, you can then so then if you were writing us a support ticket, you could paste that information, and here's that log that we can use. There is another thing that you can do to help us diagnose your problem. And we get a lot of emails with lots of different questions, so more information is better. One thing that you can do is you can close the editor, and then in Windows, we include this shortcut here that will run the editor with the debug console. And so if you run that, it'll open a terminal window. And it opens this console window. And you can use it to see the debug output of our editor. And so what you can see in the debug window is we've got some error messages here. This is specifically telling us that Windows couldn't find the driver, which we've already given you a little hint in the editor. But if there was something else going on, and it could be maybe at some point in the application something froze or broke, or maybe you were doing a firmware update and there was a problem. If you needed our help diagnosing some other issue, you can go back to the console window, and you can either try to select it all with your mouse, or Control-A selects the whole thing, and then you can Control-A, Control-C would copy it, and then you can just, in your ticket, paste that information and send it to us, and that'll help us figure out what's going on. One other place that you could look in Windows, if you click the Start menu, we used to call it down here, you can type Event Viewer. The event viewer allows you to see different events that happen in the system, but the main place you want to look is in Windows logs in application. If there's an editor crash that you can't explain, sometimes what you can see here is, and it's sorted by date, so you can look and see if there was an event that happened at some point at the same time that your program crashed. This might give you an idea as to if there's something wrong with Windows, or perhaps if there's a bug in our application or editor. This can help us find that as well. We hope this video has been helpful. Please reach out to us if you have any other questions.